Now I've done one side, I used a heat gun to dry it, and I've turned it over. I'm going to do the other side. On the other piece, I've only done one side, and I'm just going to let that dry. I'll see what happens. The thing about using a heat gun to dry it is that if you've got it quite thick, the gesso, and you use a heat gun on that before it's dry, well, you would before it's dry, but if you get too close, hold it on there too long, you get bubbling effects, which personally I absolutely love. So I do that quite a bit. But if you don't want that, either use the heat gun sparingly and from a distance and take a while over it, or take even longer and leave it to dry naturally. One or the other. Okay, get back to you when I've got to the next bit. We are now going to be doing a one-sheet journal. A journal made from just one sheet, tiny journal. So in preparation, I am painting a sheet of paper with white gesso, and I'm using Dala Rowney Graduate. Don't know if you can see that. There we go. Don't want to tilt it too much. It's the cheapest one, and this pot is, ooh, how big? A litre, and I paid 10 quid in a local art shop. You may get it cheaper online. I doubt it, but don't forget you've got to add your post and packing as well. But if you're getting it with a lot of things, you might get it cheaper somewhere. Now, one of the reasons for using gesso is because some of the Lindy Stamp Gang sprays, which I love to use, have got little sparkly bits in them. And I found out that the sparkly bits on some of those paints look better if they're on a sealed surface like this or on better paper. This is just your basic, fairly basic 120 GSM copier paper. It's got a slight shininess to it, but I'm getting rid of that with this. Another thing about using gesso is that it gives a tooth to your surface. Right, now I've zoomed this in as close as I can to this corner. I may have to lift it up to show you more precisely, but I'm going to heat gun this area, and I put a slightly thicker amount of gesso on here. So with any luck it should bubble up. Okay? Oh, and I've put some heat resistant tiling under here. These are what I use for soldering and stuff like that. But the one that you can use for glue gunning, that would probably do alright as well. Or the Ranger mat, as long as you're not got a bit of wood like me here underneath, or a desk that you want to protect. Because I've had the Ranger mat on top of my green cutting mat and then heated, and my green cutting mat just went and curled up a bit. Wasn't too disastrous, but learnt my lesson. Anyway, here we go. Noisy. I'm keeping the heat gun in the same area, and look, you can see it bubbling up already. Isn't that lovely? I love things like that. I've done it deliberately in just one corner. I love that. That will make one page, you see. I didn't want it all over all of it. Just wanted to show you. That's a bit too well dried already. The rest of it is I've already dried most of it. I just left that bit so I could show you. Isn't it fun? I'm going to show you a bit closer because it's just so nice. You imagine I'm going to cut this up into a little tiny journal. Lovely! I'm going to do some stamping. This is a set of stamps that came with this Creative Stamping issue 62. So I'm going to try some of these. Okay, let's pop that away. And I've got here some tissue that came with something or other, you know, packing stuff. And I'm going to use that. Now, if anybody throws this stuff away, you don't know what you're missing. You really, really don't. I mean, here's some I stamped earlier. I used Stays-On inks, and they're really pretty good. It's just recycled tissue. Didn't buy it. Just bought something else and it came as packing. And there you go. Lovely. What's wrong with that? So I usually sort of flatten it out. Obviously this is stuff I've not really flattened out, it's just still in a mess, just comes with something. So, but I usually flatten it out so it becomes quite nice and flat. But even so, there we go. Let's have a go with this. Now I use Stays On inks or Ranger Archival. Why? Because they don't run. Once they're on here, that's it, they're on. So that when you put a piece of tissue over the top of something else in your journal and use Mod Podge to put it on, the Mod Podge doesn't make it go all streaky. So you can still see the stamped image quite clearly. Unless of course you're like me and use stamping on top of something quite dark, and then you may not see it. But there we go. So I've got an emerald green there. Sorry, Emerald City stays on. I've got Vermilion, Garden Patina, Sepia in the archival inks, and a few more stays ons. I've got a lovely pumpkin orange, royal purple. I love the royal purple. Teal blue, jet black, which is always a good favourite, and sunflower yellow. I don't use that very much. It doesn't show up on anything much, so we'll just pop that away for now. Now, I usually use my teal blue and royal purple, but let's go for something else. Let's do a bit of pumpkin. It probably won't show up, in which case I'll have to go back to them. And we'll try some of the Emerald City. But I do like the red, the vermilion. Well, we'll see. Here we go. So let's get this out of its package. You can tell I've not used this yet. They're Sheena Douglas stamps, it seems. And I quite like the fox. The fox is excellent. And that stump, that tree stump's lovely. And the owl, and there's some spots and snowflakes, rabbits, deer in the distance, lovely things. Excuse me, too much talking. So I think I'll start with an owl. And I think an owl is going to look really nice in perhaps pumpkin or sepia. Did I have the sepia? Yeah, sepia. Let's have a nice owl. Now, I haven't got my acrylic blocks here, and I'm not going to waste time hunting for them. I'm just going to stamp these on. Now, as you know, if you've seen the first part of this, I'm not bothered about things being accurate. I don't give a doodads. I like things to look patchy, which is a good thing when you're doing something like that. So, owl, ink. That's right, get it all over yourself, dear. Yes, why not? Usually do. I'm probably going to get ink all over the surface anyway, so should go like that. And then stamp in the corner to make it more easy to cut it out later. It's a bit smudgy, but then I've had quite a lot of ink on it. Let's try again, and I won't put quite so much ink on. The only trouble with this tissue is it's quite absorbent. So this is the, it's got two sides to it. This is the soft side, the buff side, and this side is more sort of shiny. So I'm going to try printing on the other side. Excuse the mess. Right, we'll try next to it. See, that's come out a lot better. So that's lesson, I don't know, 304. stamp on the shinier side. You get a better impression. I foolishly put this the wrong way up, didn't I just? Yes. So we'll turn it over. We'll get better impressions by doing it on the other side. So, what else have we got on here? Where did I put my L? You probably noticed it. It's over here. So, I've somewhere got some stays on ink remover, but I don't know what I've done with it. Should have got that out. Unprepared. Yes, that's me. But I'm going to have a go with a pumpkin. Where's the pumpkin? Pumpkin. There we go. Pumpkin. See what happens with that one. So, and again on the shiny side, now that I've discovered I had it wrong way around, I like to stamp a few images at once. That way I can cut out all of them at once. I think I can say that I recommend these Sheena Douglas stamps. The plastic, whatever they're made of, is so nice that even the stays on ink doesn't stay on. I've just been and rinsed this under the tap and it's as clean as a bell. It's lovely. So I really like those. Right, carrying on with stamping. So here we are with lots of lovely tissue pieces. There's a nice little fox. There's some rabbits. Deer in the distance. I do like that. And various bits and bobs, including a not very robin-y robin. Is that a robin or isn't it? I mean, it doesn't look a lot like a robin to me, but whatever. And some rather nice leaves, which I've done in red ink because I like the red leaves. And some red berries. Sort of Christmassy without being too over the top. I'm not that fond of Christmas. And possibly mistletoe. It might be. There we go. So we've got those ready. Okay, I'm going to show you how some people make a mini journal so that you know there are different ways of doing it. Now, one way people do is like this. Fold this piece of A4 paper. I'll fold it in half. Now, I might have to get my head in the way so that I can see what the devil's going on. So my eyes aren't brilliant, but basically like that. And then, again, so you've made a double fold, right? And then undo that like that. And do the same thing again this way round. And put a nice crease in. You can go back and re-crease all these pages as well. And once more. See, that's a double crease, so you can just crease the single piece and crease that one again so that you've got a nice crisp crease, and do the same with the other pieces, right? So refold that one to the middle and refold that one to the middle as well. And this is the one that's going to be quite fat, so make that. You can use a bone folder. So there you go. So it's all foldy-woldy-woldy, right? Lots of foldy-woldies. Then what you do is you get a pair of scissors and you cut along the middle piece here, just that piece, no further than this, and do the same there, and there, and there. So you make 3 cuts that way and 1 cut that way, so that you end up with this. Now, let's get rid of that one now so it's easy to see this one. Now the way you fold it is like this. So you've got your little hole in the middle and you fold these pieces underneath, right? And then you fold that one up and that one down and then that one right the way down to make the front. And then you pick it up and you go like that and you fold those 2 over that way to make your pages, and then you've got your book. Now the reason why I object to this, let me show you, let me zoom in a little. Now if you look at this, the way this is done, people say you've got 8 pages. Or is it 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's 8. But I object to this because, I mean, look at this second, the first page is doubled over, so you've lost 1 page. There's a single page, yes, fine. But look at this one. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets of paper in amongst that, and you're not going to be able to use it because, look at it. So you could just snip the top and snip the bottom, and eventually you end up with the same thing as what I did, which was simply to unfold the whole darn thing and to then cut it into pieces, into 2-fold pieces, so that you've got 1 piece like that, 2 pieces like that, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And when you put them together, you've got 16 pages, not just 8. So I think that was a much better idea, which is why I came up with some of these. Away for now. That's using an A4 sheet. I've done the same thing using a smaller sheet from a notepad, and I end up with something like that because I've just cut all the pieces. Now, because of that, I felt the need to sew them together. So there they are, sewn together. Okay, all I've done is punched a hole with a pokey tool in between each pair of sheets and just put 2 together to make a signature, 2 together to make a signature, etc., etc. So each signature is 2 sheets big, and there are 4 of them. That makes a little book. Now, this was my first experiment, and I used hemp for this, but I think it's too thick for such a small book. So if I was doing it again, I would take that hemp, and it's made of 3 strands. I would just unwind the strands and use that. Be much better for that size of book. Probably be better for a bigger one, but there's another way to do it. So there's an A4 sheet of paper. I've just folded it once, folded it twice, and folded it again, and all you've got to do then is the same thing, punch, punch, and you've got a single small sheet book, and cut the tops. You don't need to cut anything else but these 2, and there you are. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pages in a slightly bigger book. So you've got options. I mean, that's what I've got here, the same thing, but this is the notepad size page, and this is the A4 size page. So it depends what size of paper you start with, what size of booklet you end up with. If you do the way demonstrated earlier, with the foldy and the cutty, you end up with a really small one like that. But I'm not sure. That might be okay. Yeah, sure, that might be okay too. I would put, it might be okay, I was going to say, to put into a bigger journal as a little mini journal to go inside. That would be lovely. But I would put a binding on the outside, something a bit stiffer. Like, for instance, there's a nice piece of card advertising an autumn plant fair here in the UK, and it's got some lovely designs on it. So I quite like the idea of using that on the front page and creating a lovely little front and back cover. I could do that easy. Do that a little bit bigger and it would be nice. I think that would be lovely. In fact, 2 of those together. You might get some bits of wording, but I don't mind that. Or, I don't want to go quite the natural route. I've got a load of natural things to use with stuff like that, you see. Or you can use the pre-coloured. Let me zoom out a little because you're not seeing this properly, are you? There you go. Or you can use the pre-coloured, the sprayed pages that we did before. This is the one with gesso on, and you can see the bubbles here, and the lovely little bubbles there. I like that. That's a lovely colour. And then here's the one I didn't put gesso on, which is also a lovely colour, but in a different way. and I didn't do the other side, so that's plain. And here's the other one I did with more bubbling in the corner there, and the bigger bubbles where the gesso from underneath has come away when I've done it. But I like that. I think that's lovely. I'm really enjoying that. And the lovely colours. So I've got quite a choice. I could simply fold this up and turn that into the journal, but it's quite dark. I think I'd be better off doing that with this one. So the other option is to simply take some of this lovely colour and use it as a background to put on your journal. So there's my journal, okay? Or say I'm using the bigger one, slightly bigger one, because it's easier to show. You can always play with the little tiny one any way you like. I mean, you can put bits of this on, or you can decorate it with the bits of tissue. That would make quite a nice one, wouldn't it? Or you can simply draw or paint into it, depending on how good you are at the drawing or painting. Or you can print out things from the internet and Mod Podge those in. Or, and here's one I'm quite intrigued by doing, quite happy to have a go at. There is the option to use napkins. I've got a lovely Christmassy one there, which might go quite nicely with the theme that I was thinking of. Well, there again, you could use a different thing altogether, like this lovely pansies design. So I like naturey things, but I also like really sort of random background type art, which is why I look at these and go, ooh, nice. So what I'm going to do for this one is cut out bits of this and put it onto this medium one. But I'm going to cut the pages, as I've already mentioned, and turn it into a proper usable 16-page little journal. Okay, and I will sew it as well. I'll show you how I do some of the threading when I've gone and sourced my little stabby stick, what do you call it, pokey tool, otherwise known as a brad awl or an awl. Hang on.